So greetings, world. Thank you so much for joining our conversation today. My name is Kaluki Paul Mutuku. I'm the Africa Regional Director at Youth for Nature. And Youth for Nature is an international youth-led organization that educates, empowers, and mobilizes youth to lead on solutions to the climate and ecological crisis, and on solutions that are backed by science and community, but also solutions that are grounded in justice. So it's really an honor to have you join us today and be part of this last of our pollinator webinar series, which started sometimes in uh, November or December of 2020. So then it's so good to have you on. And to begin with, we kindly ask if you can type in your chat your name and the country that you're joining us from. And also note that we are recording this session. So if you don't wish to be part of it, let us know. And also for housekeeping, I would ask if we are not speaking, let's try to put ourselves or stay muted. And if you need anything, we have the Youth for Nature team support here that you can easily reach out to either one of us. They will quickly rename themselves. So anytime you see anyone on the screen with the Y for N function, feel free to reach out to them and they'll be able to get to you. Then we start in actually the next 1 or 2 minutes. And I'll ask you again, if you're just joining us, please get a glass of water, grab some snacks if you wish, and find a comfortable space, a place to settle for the session, because it will be an amazing one. We have some special speakers like ready to present and talk to you about the practicalities around this topic of us today. And again, remember to put in your name, your initiative, and the country that you're joining us from. I see we have, let me just read. We do have Sarah Namaka joining from Poland. So good to have you, Sarah, join. Seeing Justin already said he's from Tanzania, and many, many other people. Thank you for your time today. And without further ado, I wish to welcome my co-moderator today, Mr. Joshua, to take us to the next segment.
Thanks, Kaluki. I'd like to welcome you all to our last webinar of the Pollinator series organized by Youth for Nature. So we have been on an interesting knowledge sharing journey since late 2020, that's since November, December 2020. And in the past 2 episodes of the webinar series on pollinators, we delved deeper into the essence of the importance of bees to our survival. And of course, there was a dive into the state of pollinators in polluted environments. We also did further go ahead to introduce various things we can do as active citizens to understand and help these little friends. We introduced beekeeping and researchers to you to get more knowledge into the science and practice of pollination. So right now, we shall now be taking you through a more practical approach into beekeeping, a moment to know how to get into the glimpse of what you can do at your capacity with what you have. This is wide-ranging from how to set up sustainable beehives, flower farms, butterfly farms, how to test honey quality, among others. So today is a happy day for nature, biodiversity, and of course, humanity. And noticeably, it's the World Bee Day. And of course, we do recognize the fact that bees and other pollinators are responsible for pollinating our food, pollination of wild plants, and of course, feeding all 7 billion of us globally. So to say in brief, thank you to all the pollinators for keeping us alive, because they're actually the sustainers of our food systems and food chain. So the purpose of the Bee Day is to acknowledge the role of bees and other pollinators for the ecosystem. And of course, the theme this year is bee engaged. The commemoration of the World Bee Day started, of course, in 2018. And of course, the observance of the World Bee Day worldwide has some targets and areas of focus. The World Bee Day aims to draw the attention of the world's public and, of course, political decision makers to protecting bees. And of course, it does remind us that we depend on bees and other pollinators, which of course may include butterflies. We might talk of wasps and of course, many others. The World Bee Day is also a day for us to protect bees and of course other pollinators, which will significantly contribute to solving problems related to the global food supply and of course food systems, thereby eliminating hunger in developing countries and of course the world at large. Of course, the World Bee Day also helps us understand amicably and work towards halting the further loss of biodiversity and degradation of ecosystems, and thereby contribute to the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals. We have a very highly resourceful webinar lineup today, and we are so pleased to have them, and we're sure you'll enjoy listening to them. The speaker lineup today will help us explore the practical things we can do to enhance the conservation of pollinators. So first of all, we have Mr. Situ, and Mr. Situ will be taking us through the first presentation, and I would briefly like to welcome him to just. I would like to welcome my colleague Kaluki to take us through a short, brief intro, and then then Mr. Situ can take us into a deep dive. Welcome, Kaluki.
Thank you so much, Joshua. Like you just stated, our first speaker is Mr. Situ Rahman, and Mr. Situ is a beekeeping professional, so he has a wealth of knowledge in the beekeeping space, and is also engaged in honeybee production as an entrepreneur. He is a technical officer at the Apiary management at the University of Ibadan, Nigeria. And it's such a pleasure to have you join us today, Mr. Situ. And please take the stage and make your presentation at least in the next 10 or 15 minutes. Mr. Situ.
Before we talk of honeybees, so we need to discuss the caste and the colonies. And we have number one, drones. So drones is the only male member of the caste. And the sole function of the drone is to mate with the queen. Let me talk about the queen. The queen is the only sexually developed female member of the caste, and its sole function is to lay egg. So the queen is the egg layer, and the queen, as it lays egg, it can lay both fertile and infertile egg. The fertile egg will produce the worker bees. Sorry, I've not mentioned the third member of the caste. The third member of the caste is worker. The third member of the caste is worker. So as I was saying, the queen is to lay eggs. It lays both fertile and infertile egg. The fertile egg will produce another queen, and it will also produce workers, while the infertile egg will produce the drone, that is the male member of the caste. Now, how do we manage our colony, that is bee colony? You know, for bee colonies to thrive, for the colony to produce, to multiply, so as to give enough honey or to pollinate effectively within our environment, They need to multiply in the numbers. So the first thing you have to bear in mind is to secure a land. You have to secure a land. So the land needs to be secure because of the intruders that will enter your farm and harvest your honey. They will vandalize your hive. So after they might have done all those havoc, after they might have rendered those havoc, the colony will just flee. They will be looking for another area to settle. So number two is creation of bees pasture. So we want to set up an apiary, you want to start beekeeping. So you need to create an enabling environment for the bees to forage. They need a lot of flowering plants to visit. So when they visit those plants, they garner nectar, they garner pollen. When they are visiting this thing, they are doing it naturally. But as they visit those plants, they land on the flower. So when they are sucking nectar and they are carrying they land on they land on that flower, there is a hind basket behind the leg. So they will get pollen and they will scatter those pollen into the hive because that pollen is one of the materials they use to feed their younger ones and to feed themselves as well. So we need to create an enabling environment that is bee pasture for the bees to forage. The number three is hive. That hive is the small box we normally construct for our colony to reside in. So we construct this box so that when the hives are baited, we apply something we call bait, that is attractant, the materials that will attract the honeybees into your hive. Don't forget, the hive is the housing material for the bees, for your colony. Now, number four is the baiting material. The baiting material, we have bee materials as one of the best baits to be applied. That is the attractant for the colonies, bee colonies. So we have other sets of baits. So like fruit paste, banana paste, for instance. Now, if you want to attract bees into your hive, already constructed hive, so you form banana paste. You can rub it at the entrances of your hive. Then you can rub it at the inner parts of the hive, inner wall of the hive. Then on the spline of your top bar or your frame if you are using Landstruct hive. So then you can use cassava flour as well. Highly scented cassava flour is an effective bait for the bees. So you can use fruit juice like orange juice, although that's what meant. It cannot take more than 24 hours. That it needs to be mentioned as well as a form of bait. Then you can use scent. 99 scent is an important scent that can be used to attract your bees as baits. So some other materials that cannot be mentioned now. Now, bees pest needs to be adequately prevented or eliminated. So what are the bee pests? So we have ants. Ants, they are very, very destructive. Either black ants or red ants or soldier ants. So they need to be prevented. They don't need to get access to your colony, because once they reach your colony, they will start cutting your bees into two or more than that. And at the end of the day, your bees will leave. They will vacate. Lizard is also dangerous. When lizard has an access to your colony, it will be swallowing them in their numbers. And at the end of the day, the colony will vacate because they won't multiply. The queen bee will keep laying eggs and more workers will be produced. But the lizards, as it is eating them in their numbers, they won't multiply. So it won't allow the pollinators to thrive. That is the bee, honeybees. Toads is an example of a honeybee pest that needs to be avoided. Then wax moths, hive beetles. So those things needs to be avoided. So you can, for the ants, you can avoid them by putting black spent oil inside the can. That can, you insert the 4 legs of your stand, the stand on which your beehive will be placed inside the apiary. You know, we have a metallic stand that we normally use. So that the 4 legs of the metallic stand will be inserted inside cans of black spent oil. So the ants do not like black spent oil. They will just go if they see that thing. So the lizard also has to be presented. Let me move forward. Maybe during the question and answer, I'll be able to answer questions based on that. Now, the number 6 is to prevent absconding. So you need to prevent absconding by all means. So when bees colonies are not living comfortably in an area, maybe as a result of too much heat or too much cold, or even the pests are disturbing them, so they will eventually abscond. Another thing is that when honey robbers invade your apiary and they harvest the honey, the bees will abscond eventually. So you need to prevent absconding. Number 7 is the usage of pesticide. You need to avoid usage of pesticide by all means. That is, dangerous pesticide needs to be avoided in your apiary. If you need to get rid of those pests, so you can apply manual means or mechanical means of chasing them away. So don't apply pesticide, because when you apply pesticide, it will eventually affect your honey, that is your pollinators. Number 8, swarming. You know, swarming, this is the natural way through which honeybees reproduce. They reproduce through swarming. And when they reproduce through swarming, they reproduce in their numbers. Let's assume we have a colony now, already existing colony. If that colony is growing, the queen is laying egg on daily basis, as it can lay up to 2,000 or 3,000 eggs per day if the queen is prolific and very, very active. So as the queen is laying the egg, you know, the space within the hive will be filled up. So it will get to a point in time when there will be no space for the queen to lay, and there will be no space for the colony to fill honey or to store more products, store more byproducts of bee. So when this happens, there will be an urge for the colony to 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 to, to reproduce, to multiply. So when they want to multiply, so we observe something at the entrance of your hive. The bees will be clustering in their numbers at the entrance, and at the outer part of your hive, you will see them. They will cluster in their number. There is a picture that depicts them from this pan point. So this is the picture. It depicts that from. So when you realize that, you open your hive for inspection. You open your colony for inspection. Then when the colony is open, you will realize that they might have made what is called queen cell. That queen cell, the worker bees will just take an egg, a day-old egg or 2-day-old egg. The maximum age of the egg should be 3 days, but preferably 1-day-old egg is better. So they will just carry that egg, they will create a special cell. That cell is termed queen cell, and that egg will be placed within the queen cell, and it will be fed what is termed royal jelly. So when that egg is fed royal jelly from inception, that implies that the egg wants to be raised as queen. That egg must be fertilized egg. So they will use that egg to raise a queen bee. And for the fact that it is being fed royal jelly, which is highly proteinous, so that will produce a queen, very prolific queen, if it is well fed. So as this thing goes on, You open your hive, a clever beekeeper, when he opens up the hive and he realizes that the coin cell is already made. So what is left for the beekeeper to do is to present another hive. It's very, very important for effective management. So you need to get some other empty hives on ground. So this colony needs to be split. So that one cannot be explained here. It is a practical management of beekeeping. If I explain it here, you may not be able to picture, you may not be able to understand it. It will look abstract. So, but at that point in time, you need to split the colony. From already a 16 colony, you can get another colony. Even if the colony is too strong, you can is a very strong colony and is highly crowded, it's densely populated. You can get 2 other colonies from it. I've done it once. So that colony, I divided it, I obtained extra 2 colonies from that single colony. So at that point in time, that means that you need to divide your colony, you split it. So in a nutshell, when somebody has 50 colonies, let me take that one as an example. You have 50 colonies of honeybees now. So you still have extra hives, 50 or more. For the fact that you have 50 colonies on ground, you are a potential owner of 100 colonies of honeybees. Because if you divide each colony, each strong colony, let's assume you have those 50 colonies, they are very strong and they are about to swarm. So you divide them, you get another colony, you get extra colony from each one of them. That means that your colony is now 100. So that is very, very interesting. So for you to prevent your colony from swarming, you need to divide, you need to split that colony. That is number one. Another thing, if you don't have extra hive on ground, but which is not a good practice, you need to prepare for such a situation. If you don't have extra colony on ground, you need to open your colony. You look for already mature honey. You harvest those honey. When you harvest the honey, there will be more space for the bees, for the queens to lay, and for the workers to build more combs, to fill more honey, to garner more nectar, to garner more pollen, and to lay egg for the queen. So you need to harvest the honey that is already ripe. Then another thing for you to do, because it is not practically possible for a beekeeper to note or to notice when your colony will abscond. Some will to notice when your colony will swarm. Some colony will swarm unnoticed. So what is expected of you as beekeeper is to get another specially designed hive. We call that one swarm catcher, for you to attract swarm, to catch swarm of bees. You may catch swarm from your colony. So you need to hang these swarm catchers around. You hang them on trees. That is the reason why it is very, very important to have trees inside the apiary. So you can hang swarm catchers on top of trees, hang them around like that. Bees love, even before the swarm, the first thing they do is that after the queen has emerged, the knowing queen has emerged, the old queen will leave the colony with the large numbers of workers, and they will go with huge quantity of honey, which will amount.
Sorry, Mr. Rahman, I think you're cutting out again. But I do see we are almost actually, that was the very last slide. Apologies for that. Sorry, Mr. Rahman, but I do appreciate you for your presentation. We will quickly be coming back to you. Understand there's some bit of technical issues with your sound, but regardless, thank you so much for that very practical walk down around beekeeping and honeybee production. I think there's some quite interesting things coming up, and I know my co-moderator and the participants are agreeing with me on that very point. So before we get to the next speaker, whom my co-moderator Joshua will be introducing, I wish to run you through some quick facts about bees. Some did you know facts. So did you know that there are almost 20,000 different bee species in the world? Did you know that bees live in colonies? And that in each colony, there are 3 types of bees, like Mr. Rahman had said. There's the queen bee, the worker bee, and the drone. Do you also know that the worker and the queen bee are both females, but only the queen can reproduce, so the worker bees can't reproduce? Did you also know that all drones in a bee colony are male? Did you know that worker bees' tasks are to clean the hives, collect pollen and nectar to feed the colony, and take care of the offspring? And did you know that the drone only mates with the queen? And lastly, did you know that the queen's job is to lay eggs and to lay eggs only? Those were some quick facts that we had for you. And just quickly to remind you that if you have any questions or insights, feedback, or comments, leave them on the chat box. We'll be reading them at the very end or when we're opening the Q&A section. And now I wish to hand over to my co-moderator Joshua to read our next speaker's biography and introduce him for his presentation. Joshua?
So much, Paul. There's so much busting up in the air, and I feel knowledge is getting wasted. So at such a point, I'm already being left with more questions than answers, actually. So it's a very good way to engage with pollinators. And of course, thanks, Mr. Situ, for the presentation. We shall be hearing more from you in the Q&A session. And now to our final speaker, Mr. Jastin KIPOMELA. He's a researcher from Tanzania. That's from the Sokoine University of Agriculture. And his recent research piece has been on the quality of Apis mellifera, honey sold on the Morogoro in Morogoro municipality, Tanzania. You might forgive me for that pronunciation. And he has so much to tell us from the side of academia, and I just can't wait to hear more from him. Mr. Jastin, you're most welcome to take the floor. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. As introduced before, I'm Jastin, and happy to be. Today, I'm going to talk a little bit about honey as a bee product, and because today is a World Bee, so I'm going to talk a little bit about honey, especially honey quality. Going first, I'm going to introduce some important things about honey by starting with explain what is honey. Some people, they are not aware about honey. So when I say honey, I mean the sweetest substance in the world. It's the sweetest substance in the world, and made from bees by using nectar from flowering plants. Briefly, I can explain that nowadays the demands of honey are increasing. The uses of honey are increasing, but most of people are not aware which honey, what type of honey to be used, which honey has reached the standard which must be used. So I'm going direct to explain what has honey quality, what are the specific parameters to be considered when you want to know this honey have reached standard or sorry, Mr. Kairu. So sorry, Mr. Paul. Going back to the last slide. Okay, when I say honey, I mean honey quality, I mean safety and the standard of honey. So here we look all characteristics of honey which make it to be good or bad. So it is important to know honey quality parameters since it gives picture to the people which honey is important to be used. And usually honey quality it is influenced by two factors, natural factors and human factors. When I say natural factors, means that there's no human interference. Here we talk about climatic conditions. Others, when I say human factors, means there is a human interference on it. So here, I'm talking about method of handling, storage, processing, and others. And honey quality can be determined into three perspectives. I'm talking about physiochemical analysis, sensor analysis, and mesopathological analysis. But for today, I'll be based much on physicochemical analysis. So on physicochemical analysis, we're going to look on the following parameters. We have pH, moisture content, minerals content, HMF, and sugar content. By starting direct with pH, when I say pH of honey, we are looking about amount of hydrogen ions present in honey. And usually it ranges from 3.2 up to 4.5. So when you want to use honey, it's important to consider the pH of honey, since that the good condition, the good quality of honey must be in acidic condition. So if your honey is in basic condition, it gives rooms for growth of bacteria and other microorganisms for it, and finally to storage. So when you want to use honey as bee product, make sure you consider pH of it, and it must range from 3.5, 3.2 up to 4.5. So it must be in acidic condition. And another one, sorry. And this pH of honey can be measured simply by using pH meter. So you just take pH meter and insert it on honey, as picture shown. Here in this presentation. So you just insert it. It gives out the reading of honey. Another important parameters, it is moisture content. It is important to know the moisture content because moisture content, it determines the honey stability against microorganism. So moisture content is important since it determines honey stability against microorganism, and it is recommended it should not be exceeded 20%. So when it is above 20%, it gives room also for other microorganisms to grow and to do other unnecessary activities and to make honey not in a good quality. And simply this can be measured by using the factometric method. It is more technical, but simply using electrophometer to measure it. Another is HMF. This is important parameters in honey since it determines the freshness of honey. So it is important to know the HMF of heat when you want to use your honey. And this HMF mostly is being determined after the composition of fructose in acidic condition. So it is, it has small percentage in honey, but it is very important since it determines the freshness of honey. And some factors which lead to lose freshness of honey include an adequate storage, excessive severe heating, so something like that. And it is recommended to be less than 40 milligram per kilogram. So it is important also to know HMF of honey, and this can be done in laboratory. This can be tested, or can be measured in laboratory by using white method. More technical on this, but that's all on HMF. Another thing which is very important is sugar content. As you know that most of most of business here, especially for instance here in Tanzania, they are using, we call it something like a trick to make honey more sweet. As you know, honey is sweet, so they use it to divorce customers by adding some kind of sugar on it. And so it is important to know sugar. It is important to know amount of sugar in honey. And when I say sugar content here, I'm talking about two scenarios. I mean glucose and fructose. So it is recommended that it must be above 65 gram per 100 gram. And this simply can be determined also in laboratory by titration between inferring solution and reducing sugar. So that's all what I'd like to share today about honey quality for today. And one thing which I want to advise all of you, it is quite a bit difficult to know if this honey has a good quality or have no quality which are being recommended. So I what can I say? But I advise others to come with some ways, simple ways, or fast ways to determine if this honey has reached the standard or not. But for today, I wanted to share all of that, or all on that hint. Thank you very much.
Wow. Joshua, go ahead.
Okay. Well, I think Paul might be a little jealous because the presentations were actually very good. It's really been splendid and so much has been shared. Thank you so much, Mr. Situ and KIPOMELA. Let me use the native name for the wonderful presentations. And I think there's really so much that came up. So much came up, and I'm actually confused. I think I'll need some time to meditate and pile up what I learned. But of course, just like the others, I also do believe there's so much that has to be taken up. And also, key to note, today is the World Bee Day, so we prepared the blog piece for the World Bee Day. So be sure to check it out from within the chat, and very much sure you will enjoy it. Yeah, and of course, keep up the good work you're doing for bees and pollinators in general. So right about now, we shall be getting into the Q&A session, and my colleague Kaluki will be orienting us into the Q&A session. Then I'll pick up as we move on to, yeah.
Thank you so much, Joshua. And yes, I'll agree with you that I'm a bit jealous on a positive note, and really so great to see what KIPOMELA, Jastin, and Situ Rahman have been able to share with us on this very special day for bees and other pollinators indeed. It's been an interesting conversation. On the one side, hearing from a practitioner on the ground on what it means to understand bees and bee production, some of the ways on how you can sustainably manage your colonies, and then from there we move to more of an academic approach with a researcher from Tanzania who's done some key honey quality testing and is given us some brilliant good parameters on what to look for when you are trying to find out or get some quality honey for yourself or for your market. So that was really, really very interesting. And because we're, I think, a good number, I would really wish if everyone could ask questions. So if you want to post any sort of question or follow up to our speakers, please bring it on. We are happy to uh, post it to both our speakers, whom I'm sure they can answer. And also, if you want to come on stage and ask your question, we are happy to give you the stage. Just raise your hand, use the right raise hand function. I will be able to usher you to ask your question. So as you wait for those, I'll quickly read a quick fact that we got from one of our participants, Reza. Reza is joining us from Finland, and she was talking about another type of bee, which is a solitary bee. And since our microphone isn't in good shape for her to speak, she comments that the solitary bees are the majority of bees in the world, and they build their nests by themselves, and they also go around roaming on flowers by themselves because they don't belong to colonies. And a quick comment was that she finds solitary bees to be fascinating, and we can build insect hotels to help them. Definitely, I do agree with you. Um, I see a hand raised up. Ibrahim, you have the speaker privilege to ask your question or make your comment. And feel free to turn your video on if you okay.
Yeah, hello everyone. Thank you for all the speakers and moderators. I feel delighted to share some of my colleagues here in my country are doing good things on keeping our bees as Islamic from my Islamic background, the chapter in the Quran that talks about the bees, chapter 16, verse 58 to 69, which shows us the importance of keeping the bees. So this is very serving. It's like I see beekeeping as serving to God, and serving to God is serving to humanity. So I want my speakers from my country to please let us be connected and see how we can reflect our good practices throughout the country and see how we can at the same time empower young people to the knowledge we have so that we share the knowledge together and make the impact we want. So thank you. These are my contributions. Thank you.
Sorry, thank you so much. Ibrahim, I quite agree with you that in line with today's theme for World Bee Day, that let's be engaged. And it's a very good way for us to be engaged as we involve citizens in activities and programs that are going to help raise the awareness level of bees and also other pollinators, because we need them for survival. We need them to enhance our biodiversity, and we need them to balance out nature. So thank you so much, and we do hope that you are able to continue effecting and advocating for the protection and conservation of pollinators in Nigeria and indeed in every other country represented on this call today. I'd want to invite someone else who has a question to please take the stage, and we are happy to start bringing this meeting to a close. But please, if there's any other person who has a question or a comment. Leonard, please take the stage, and I see a very good lengthy comment you put on the chat. Do you want to read it out or just speak to it?
Oh my God. No. I'd like to ask my question, but I was starting to realize about those solitary bees. They are crucial. They are crucial, but anyone could read that in the chat. So I was wondering myself. My question is going to Jastin, if I'm pronouncing this correctly. I was on the slides or his presentation, which was very, very important, and he mentioned how we can test the quality of honey. But I was wondering myself, all steps were the one that you can use in laboratory, and it is not easy to use it at home. So I was wondering myself if it can be possible, if there are some simple ways that you can use at our home or in a local or communities. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Leonard. That's a very good question, actually. Justin, do you wish to intervene? And also my co-moderator, if you have an addition, and Mr. Situ. But first, Justin.
Okay, thank you very much for the good question. But what I can say that most of people nowadays, they are using colors. They use colors, viscosity of honey to describe as a good, as how they are using color and viscosity. I mean the flow of honey, classify if the honey are reach standard or not. But what I can say is that is not more practical, because some of honey, they have dark color but has a good quality. But when people see the dark color, they started to doubt, is it a good honey or not? And some of honey, they have golden color. So what I can say, the only method which is more practical is in the laboratory. Maybe on that on pH meter, you can take it, since pH meter is small devices, so you can handle it. But others, to measure others, it's very difficult. It needs solutions and chemicals so as to know if this honey has reached standard or not. But I can do more on it, to do more research on it, so to understand if there are simple methods to classify it easily. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Justin, for that. Quite interesting that there are other conventional ways which might not be easily also like qualitative and stuff. And I think that's a good one. And I'm wondering whether Mr. Situ Rahman is a practitioner, bee production practitioner yourself. Are there some simple ways that you know of that we can use to test the honey quality? All right. Sorry, I think you're not there, but I do agree with you, Justin, that it's always good to research and avail some of this knowledge to people, for people to understand. I also know from my local context that some people have used the matchstick method, to just lighting a matchstick, and you use the spark to see whether the honey will catch a fire. And if it catches a fire, then that is pure honey. If it doesn't, it's been altered. So I think these are some of the things that are least cost, but the question, like Justin has said, is now at what extent is that verifiable? So thank you so much. And in any case, just feel free to also check on our blog. We'll be able to keep updating it on to some of the ways we can continue ensuring that we have easy cost and least cost procedures on measuring honey quality. Joshua, unless you have something else to add on this topic, and then we can quickly bring this meeting to a close.
Thank you very much, Paul. Thank you, our speakers, Mr. Situ and KIPOMELA. Of course, not forgetting those who have participated. we also do recognize and acknowledge the fact that we are not absolute knowledge holders. But of course, since we come from diverse backgrounds and knowledge spheres, we just need to get together and curate ways of how we can come up with much better and feasible solutions to most of the challenges. Thank you very much once again, and we look forward to engaging more. Over to you, Kaluki.
Indeed, thank you so much for the past 1 hour. Joshua, it's been a pleasure co-hosting this session with you. To our speakers, it's very, very interesting to hear your different perspectives from academia to real practice on the ground, and specifically to our participants who've been able to stay on all this time and listen to this knowledge coming on. We wish to invite you to also, again, check our latest blog on World Bee Day. Some really nice perspectives and on the ground things that are coming up from different people in Africa. So feel free to read that. And we do appreciate you for the journey that you've taken with us since end of 2020 up to now, when we just finalized our webinar series on pollinators for our survival. We thank everyone who was able to join us. And should you want to engage us on the topic of pollinators, kindly feel free to write to us at hello@youthfornature.org. I'm putting that quickly on the chat box, and we'll be happy to collaborate more. And we'll definitely be sending this recording alongside for you who want to listen to it, and anyone else will want to benefit. So thank you so much. And it's been a pleasure hosting you. But for now, we have to say goodbye, and enjoy your World Bee Day.